Hello and welcome back to another Knights of Lorcana League match. Today we did a practice match versus China Cool Dino, who's a newcomer to the league. Um, he was running Amber Emerald Chroma Sea Dogs. See his list featured here. Pretty standard Amber Emerald list. A few spicy cards here and there, featuring some new cards like Della's Moon Lullaby and also um, one cost Finnick. But yeah, he gave me a little overview of some of his thoughts on when he was going for this build. So he told me he's running an extra copy of Della's Moon Lullaby because in watching others play, it's a great math fixer against mid-range decks, namely Purple Steel, and then also works great as an extra illusion killer, again, against Purple Steel. And then he also has added one of a Finnick. Usually doesn't keep him in the starting hand because he uses him as a sort of a pseudo removal. He does like the swing play he can get if he does go one wider with the Chromacon down. So if he removes a character with the Finnick while having Chromacon in play, it can really help accelerate his board state. And then also the new Scrooge McDuck. He said he's kind of off and on about it, but ultimately has kept him because if he can get more cards in the discard, his Shift Lady gets more value, especially if he doesn't find Tramp 7. And the Scrooge is basically unkillable as long as they don't have the cat or steel removal, because the Scrooge does not die to challenges. His rules text reads, when this character is challenged, return this card to your hand. No damage is dealt in that challenge. So unless somebody can use something like Strength of a Raging Fire, Cheshire Cat damage move, Bell damage move, or Thunderbolt, then the Scrooge is going to last pretty much forever. And then on the other side of the table is going to be my Amethyst Steel list. I think this is a pretty standard Amethyst Steel shell. I'm really enjoying one cost Olaf. It's a nice kind of safety play against the Philip combo, as Olaf gets banished from the Malicious, Mean, and Scary. And his text reads, when this character leaves play, you may return chosen character of yours to your hand, which is really nice because you can end up saving one thing, maybe a key piece like an Elsa or a Dumbo. Then I do have a couple of Madam Mim Surfers, which are nice for getting a little extra edge in challenging. I do have a Madam Mim Elephant as well. The bounce plays can be nice with a heavily boosted Cheshire Cat. Works with Olaf and the Mim Elephant. You can boost the cat 2 or 3 times and then bring it back to hand, and you'll draw all those cards that are under him. And then we do also have 2 of the new 5-cost Ursula Whisper. I like her just for closing out games, and especially against decks that can't deal with evasives very well. When you do boost her, she gets +1 lore and gains evasive, so she's a 5/4 evasive, questing for 3. Also is just a nice threat versus enemy genies or opposing Elses as well. In the mirror, you can use her in conjunction with Cheshire Cat to take down other evasives. So overall, pretty versatile card, but doesn't fit super well into the curve, so that's why we only have a couple of her. With that, we will be getting into game 1. I did win the dice roll, so I'll be on the play. And we are leading off with a Captain Hook. Not sure what my opponent's color combo is yet. We like leading off with a Hook, as it can deal with a lot of different threats. With the Challenger 3. We do see an Ursula into the Inkwell, and then a Amber Emerald dual color lady. So we know what his color combo is now. Turn 2, I come around with a Calhoun, And I quest with the hook, feeling pretty safe with this quest, as I'm sure the opponent will not want to challenge into my hook if he's able to get a couple characters down with the lady.
Discard Alila.
Do see a Bobby come down, discarding a Lilo, which is a great discard. She can come back from the discard for 2 ink at the beginning of his upkeep. So often we'll see Lilo's going in for that. Gives him a bit more filtering,
Hmm.
hopefully find some other key pieces.
Just gonna play Lexington next turn.
I think the opponent right now is just deciding what to ink, possibly thinking of playing another 1-drop. We did see that he's pretty heavy in the 1 and 2 costs, so it's likely he has another one in hand.
Tramp, and then play Daisy, and then we'll
And then
pass.
we do see the infamous Daisy come down. Can be oppressive for some decks. Personally, I find her okay in the purple steel matchup. We do have Cobra and Lexington that can challenge her very easily, and I also am only running 6 actions, so not too worried about getting those taken away. Do end up playing a second Calhoun, so looks like I missed my 3-drop, which is a bit unfortunate,
Okay, draw for turn.
but another Calhoun is not so bad. We do have a lot of board pressure now, can easily take out the Daisy.
2 for Ursula.
And then we get an Ursula down, so my hand gets revealed, and we see, ooh, a very bricked hand with a Doc, a Calhoun, and a Genie.
I
So
see
understandable
the hand.
why the second Calhoun came down.
How did you get 3 Calhouns? What the hell?
Yeah, having 3 of my 4 Calhouns in my starting hand,
Okay.
or close to, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Obviously, she is a very strong card early in the game, and versus this style of deck
Gonna
that's very low to the
go
ground.
and play Lady, and then pass it back over to
We
you.
get a lady coming down. So yeah, I think here I'm just praying to pull something inkable off the top so I can play my Genie. We do manage to grab the Hades off top, play the Genie, and I think I do end up questing out here. Feel pretty safe with it. Yeah, so we do go ahead and quest for 3 more. The opponent's board is getting very wide,
Okay,
but
draw for turn.
I think if I keep putting this pressure on, then he won't be able to catch up.
This is gonna be slightly
We do have the threat of Big Tramp out now. He does have enough characters and ink to have it come down. Will only cost him 2 ink to play right now.
So you got Doc and something else. Doc, Calhoun, and something else.
I think the opponent's just taking a little bit of time, thinking about what the best move is going to be here. I think at this point it can be a pretty pivotal turning point for the match if I do end up getting past that 10 lore mark. Before he's able to establish something, I could just end up running away with the game if he's not able to control my board, but he doesn't really have anything strong enough to take down these Calhouns. Also doesn't want to just take out the hook to expose to a Calhoun challenge, and then nothing really able to clean up the Genie as well. I think pretty much all of those are going through his mind right now, probably trying to just decide if questing is a good option or
Ursa's
if
gonna
we're going to
sing
do
Dela's Moon Lullaby on one of their
something
Calhouns.
else. We do get a Della's Moon Lullaby sung onto one of the Calhouns, so
And
the
then
Calhoun's going to have -2 strength until the start of his next turn, and then he does get to draw a card from that.
annoying as hell. 2 for Big Tramp. That's 5 cards.
And
2
then we do see 2 ink down for the Big Tramp.
Doc.
Can play that because he costs 1 less ink for each character he has in play.
Right now.
And then he's going to draw a card for each other character he has in play, and then discard that many cards. A bit more filtering. Try and find some other answers. Maybe something like the Chromacon. 3-cost lady for a little bit of a stronger character swing. Could also pull out 5-cost lady for next turn, or even a second tramp that could be played with this one ink.
Lady, Talisman Lullaby, Go Tomaga, and another Talisman Lullaby.
We see
It's a block.
2 Delisman Lullabies going in the
Oh
discard.
man. The other one.
One big lady.
Mm.
Yeah, so we do have the second big tramp coming down.
One, two, three, four, five,
Can
six.
play that for the one remaining ink he's got. So a little bit more dig,
Oh wow.
much wider board now.
Insanely crazy.
These 2/6 tramps
So
definitely
big
pose a
big
bit of a threat to
big
me.
tramp lady Mowgli.
He's got a pretty full discard now, so he can make a nice play with 5 cost lady. And then because 2 characters came down, 1 cost lady did have 2 strength, so was able to take out my hook.
Yes, 1, 3. One, 3, 2.
I think the opponent now is just deciding whether or not they want to do a little more questing now that one of my challenging characters is out of the equation, and also the Calhoun having 1 less strength might make him feel slightly safer.
I kept the card that I kept. Oops. Genie's gonna go here, and if I do this, yeah, okay.
Yep, so opponent does go ahead and quests for 4. We get the Daisy trigger and we reveal a 2-cost Jafar going into hand. Nice for me because I was hurting on uninkables, so pulling a inkable card into the hand will help a lot there. And then we just have that die on Calhoun, noting that she's got -2 strength right now. I try to use counters like that when I can, just to remember effects like the Della's Moon Lullaby. So we do see that 2-cost Jafar going in the Inkwell, not surprised there. And we've got 3 for Cheshire Cat Whisper. And then the third Calhoun comes down. I think at this point, just deciding what my most beneficial trades are going to be. Could send Genie into one of the ladies or Bobby. We do get a Strength of a Raging Fire come out, sung by the Genie though, which cleans up the Daisy very nicely. Just deciding what to challenge with Calhoun. We do take out one of the ladies, the one without the damage. And then I do pass the turn there. Maybe could have quested with that other Calhoun. Was probably a safe bet. I don't think he would want to commit both tramps into one Calhoun. We also have one exerted anyway, so would be a lot, or at least a couple characters for him to deal with, which I don't think he would have. Looks like the opponent just has a couple cards in hand, so not a lot of options for him. This is definitely going to be a very big turning point in the match. I think if he does quest out, I do take out both of the tramps. Can also use the Cheshire Cat's boost ability to move a couple more damage, take out something else. The Lilo is also very vulnerable to the Calhoun. Does represent something that I want to answer most every turn if he does play it, but I will be netting 2 lore every time I challenge out the Lilo and taking no damage back with the resist 1. So that is something to consider when bringing those Lilos back.
I might have to pass this turn, bro.
And we do have the opponent go ahead and pass the turn. I think he does realize that exposing himself here would probably result in most of his board being taken down. We've got 5 ink to work with, so we can play most anything in our deck at this point. Only thing that will miss is the Demona. We do get a dock play, though. Empty hand, ink to Cobra. Able to draw 2 cards from that. I think for sure I will challenge the Lilo with Calhoun. We get the Dumbo out, which will be nice. The turns following for a bit more card advantage, because I do just have 1 card left in hand. Yeah, we do have the Calhoun challenge the Lilo. And then I do go ahead and quest out here for 5 lore, putting me to 15. So we are threatening game on board now.
Going to scoop because I misplayed.
Looks like the opponent just had a Chromacon and an Under the Sea in hand, which is very unfortunate versus what I had on the board. Would have only cleaned up a couple
Yeah.
characters. So yeah, we do go ahead and scoop here.
Personally, like when I play
And we're
Pro
going to
this
move
game,
on
I
to
don't
game
really
2.
care that much about the chroma con.
Moving on to game 2, I will be on the draw this time. Going to see what the opponent leads out with.
Paying
We
Raja
get a
2
Raja in the Inkwell,
paying 1 for Bobby.
and then Bobby comes down.
Draw for Bobby. Oh,
Really nice card for some filtering, especially in this kind of deck where you do have cards like Lady to pull things out of your discard, or maybe you can discard Lilo, which can come back herself.
oh my god. And discard Go-Go to Omega.
You do get a Go-Go in the discard. And then on my side, we ink the Elsa, play a Diablo. Pretty standard turn 1 for me. I'll usually ink my
Draw for
5
2.
cost cards if I've got them in hand, as I know I'll probably draw into 1 or more of them later on.
Play
Do
1
get
for
the
Bobby.
second Bobby coming
1
down
for Bobby. Okay.
on the opponent's side, which is great filtering.
I do love Bobby. One of my favorite cards. I love Bobby so much I added in Scrooge. Made discard Under the Sea.
All right, and then we get an Under the Sea
Pay 2
discarded there. I
Go-Go.
think
Pay 1 for
opponent's probably not valuing that card very much in this matchup, as the only thing it's really hitting are Genie, Mim, Doc, and my 1 costs. Everything else I have in my deck will be able to get around that. Oh, also Elsa. Pretty notable. Then we do get another 1 cost down. Looks like it's the 1 cost Uninkable Lady. And then we ink the Iago, play the 3 cost Jafar. On here I had a little bit of a
Already up.
fumble with
Turn.
the cameras here. I think I hit a hotkey or something. Maybe we'll play around with that in later videos and get some better views of the cards.
Oh, sorry. Bobby should be ready. We're gonna. Crap, this is hard.
I did pass the turn here, but I did forget to pass it in the client. It must have been what I messed up when I did the little camera fumble.
Inka Webby.
Did you get a 1 cost Webby into the Inkwell? And we get the Chromacon down.
Then.
I think the Chromacon in this matchup is very detrimental for me. Makes everything just a little bit harder in terms of controlling the board. So I definitely have to try and go as quickly as possible, and go as wide as
Swing
possible
into the Diablo.
to try and
Swing
get
into
around
it.
that.
The Bobby's gonna go into Diablo.
We do
Draw a card.
have one Bobby quested, and we have the Diablo challenge, so I get to draw.
And it's your go.
Then I get the turn passed back to me. Get a hook going down in the inkwell. Coming out with a giant cobra. Discard a surfer mim to go up 2.
Yep.
And then I quest one with a Jafar, trying to maintain that pressure.
Ready up. I'm gonna draw for turn.
I think at this point, though, the opponent's in a pretty good spot. If he plays a couple of cards and then quests out, I think I
They're gonna
have a lot
play
of pressure on me to try and control the board.
Webby.
And we do have Webby come down
I think Bobby's gonna hit into Jafar.
with the 1-cost tramp,
Go for
or
2.
sorry, 1-cost lady. Webby's ability targets the Bobby, so Bobby gets +1 strength, and that is enough to take down the Jafar. So he goes ahead and does that. Quest with his 2 dry characters and then passes it to me. So at this point, I'm thinking I'm not in the best spot here. I think the best thing I could do is maybe play something like a Calhoun or a Hook, and in conjunction with maybe one of my 3 costs like Cat. But I always have this constant threat of getting my characters banished, or not banished, but sent back to my hand because of the Chromacon. Right now, I think I'm deciding the order I want to do things here. Probably want to challenge before I send anything out from my hand.
Yep. Just gonna bounce that guy.
So yeah, we do challenge Little Lady
Yeah.
uninkable with the Cobra, and Cobra does get bounced back to hand. And from there, we do go ahead and play a Genie.
Okay.
I think maybe I could have just quested with the Cobra and then played the Genie.
Interesting.
Tried to race the opponent at this point. It's definitely a possibility, but I think I was kind of hoping for the Cobra to get bounced back so I can use its ability again to get a couple more lore and try and get a little bit more ahead.
I'm gonna pay 3. A shift lady.
We do get a Shift Lady coming out, so the opponent will be able to
Bobby and
pull
lady.
out 2 cards from his discard that cost 2 or less.
Yep. Then I can't not go wide, can I? Most are gonna take out 1
I
character.
think the opponent's just thinking about how many characters they want to put down at this point. Lady is available to quest because of the
And
shift.
pass back.
So we do get 2 lore coming down from her and then a pass back. So I think at this point, maybe questing with Genie, playing the Cobra and one other character could be strong. You get the Hades coming down though.
You can draw the card.
Um, Hades putting something on the bottom of the deck as opposed to banishing, and we do target the lady with it. So there will be no Chromacon trigger because of it. And opponent does let me draw 2. And then we do have Genie go ahead and sink Thunderbolt on Lady. And at this point, I think it's a bit of a tough choice for the opponent. Bouncing back the Genie does let me draw another card, but bouncing back the Hades will let me use his ability again.
I'll bounce your genie.
We do get the genie bounce back to hand. I think I might have over prioritized controlling the opponent's board as opposed to just
Hobby.
questing a little harder here.
Okay.
I think maybe the Hades was not the best play. The cards in hand are obviously nice, but I think at this point the opponent can push the lore advantage just a little bit harder
I'm gonna pay
and
2
make
for
it
the
very difficult for
tramp.
me to come back
Pretty
from
stupid
this.
tramp trigger.
So we do have 5 characters on board for him now. We've got
And then
another little lady, and then we've got 2 cost tramp, which was discounted for having the lady on board.
quest for 2 here.
And then opponent goes ahead and quests for 2 here, starts pulling ahead. Yeah, I think looking back on this, if I had just played the Cobra, discarded a card, and then maybe played another low cost character, I think I would have been in a better spot than if I had played the Hades. I think I put a little too much focus on controlling the board and not just racing. Let's go ahead and challenge Webby.
Yeah. He's gonna get bounced back to your hand.
We do challenge the Webby with Hook, and Hook gets bounced back. Sorry, not Hook, Hades.
Okay. Ready up. Draw for turn. Tramp's gonna sing Devil's Moon Lullaby on Genie.
We do get a Della's Moon Lullaby
Della,
on the Genie
Webby, Ursula.
after playing out Genie and Calhoun. And then an Ursula comes down, revealing my hand. Got a pretty stacked hand right now,
Quest
but
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think it's not going to matter too much because I don't have the ink to play everything I would want. And at this point, the opponent is close to threatening game on board with 12 lore and 6 available.
Yep. Have to win in the next few turns right now.
And then even if I do like quest with the Genie and challenge with the Calhoun here, it's still not going to set me up, I think, very well. So yeah, we do go ahead and quest 2 with the Genie. We have the Calhoun challenge.
Yep.
Opponent does get a Chromacon trigger.
I'm gonna bounce your. What is that? 6 ink? 6 ink.
I'm expecting the opponent to bounce the Genie here, but honestly, bouncing the Calhoun is not bad either.
I'm gonna bounce your Calhoun.
Yeah, so we do get the Calhoun bounce back. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, I did have a Cobra and a 1-cost Hook in hand. So looking back, I think it'd be smart to play the Cobra,
Yep.
Calhoun, and the Hook. But we do get the Genie, Calhoun, and Hook. I think the Cobra would have been better to put just slightly more lore pressure on the opponent, putting me up to 10
Okay. Ready up.
with
Draw for
Genie
turn.
available to quest and then Calhoun able to challenge, I think would have put just slightly more
1,
pressure on the
2,
opponent.
3, 4.
But we do just get a quest out here
Go ahead.
up to 17, and I think that just about does it for me. There's no real way for me to get rid of everything around these Chromacon triggers.
like a strength or
Do
something.
have a Hades available in hand. This could draw into another option, but even if I do, not a lot we can do here, unfortunately. We would have to get rid of every single exerted character that he has. I think in this current board state,
Nah,
I can get rid of
even
at
doing
most
that.
3 characters if I have a song in hand and then with a couple of challenges. We do get Hades on 3 cost Lady.
Hmm.
Honestly, wouldn't be bad for the opponent to even not give me the cards here just to kind of ensure the victory because obviously I'm digging for some outs.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it at the bottom.
Yeah, so he does go ahead and put her at the bottom of the deck. No Chromacon trigger from that, but not a great spot for me still.
Because if you find 2 removal spells, then I have a bit of a problem.
And I think even if I had like a strength and a thunderbolt in hand, singing with one genie, conceivably, I would have the other one get bounced back to hand, so I would need ink to pay the strength.
Uh, he's not powered down now, but
Just remembering that the genie is no longer affected by the Della's Moon Lullaby. We do have a Thunderbolt Sang. We hit Webby with it. I hadn't seen his whole deck yet, so I'm not sure if there's a Shift Webby coming out, so I thought that might be a prudent target. Do have Calhoun bounced back. So I do have the other genie available to sing if needed. But again, if I do sing with that genie or challenge with this hook, the other character is going to get bounced back. So, not a lot to do here, I don't think. Unless I happen to have a strength in hand. Could ink and play the strength.
gonna bounce Genie.
And Genie gets bounced back from the hook challenge. Yeah, we do have a dock in hand, but did find a strength from the dock, so maybe could have
If you docked first, then
docked
you're gonna
before
probably figure it out.
we did everything. But even so, I think there wouldn't have been enough characters on board because we do the strength, and he removes something. I only got one more character to remove. Yeah, we do go ahead and scoop here. Gonna move on to game 3.
Man,
Moving on to game 3, I will be on the play again. Just finished up the mulls. We'll see what I can do to play around this Emerald Chromacon. Definitely the biggest threat for me in this matchup, I think. Do get a Diablo coming down turn 1.
oh dear.
Not my favorite turn 1 play in this matchup, I don't think.
Think about my turn
Could
2.
definitely do more with the hook, but one drop's better than no one drop, so we will take it.
This on 1.
Opponent taking a little bit of time, trying to figure out what this first move is going to be. Just remembered I have to generate the league matchups here before I go to bed tonight. Can't forget. Can't leave the people unhappy. So we do get a tramp in the inkwell. And then we get an inkable lady coming down. And then we go ahead and ink a Cobra, play a Calhoun. Love to see the Calhoun in this matchup. Will put a lot of pressure on the opponent. Hopefully provide some mental pressure into not questing. We do see the Bobby come down. Lilo in the discard, which is, I think, an ideal Bobby play. Then a 3-cost lady going in the inkwell, and we see the second Bobby coming in for even more filtering. So yeah, in my head right now, I'm really thinking I just don't want to see Chromacon. Trying to avoid it at all costs. I don't think I was playing properly around it game 2, so definitely have to think a little bit more about what I'm doing game 3. Maybe think about going a little bit faster instead of trying to control. Do get a Lexington into the inkwell, and a Cobra comes down. We do discard the 2-cost Mim. Looking very similar to game 2. I think I even discarded the same card with Cobra. We did see that the opponent also discarded a 5-cost lady with the Bobby. Then we do get the Mowgli, Ursula's counterpart. See that we've got a Madam Mim Elephant and a Hades in hand. So no non-character card for the Mowgli to rip, thankfully. And then we get 1-cost lady coming down. So the opponent's board already extremely wide. But we do thankfully have a bit of lore behind right now. So behind us. So we can hopefully start to exert some pressure. Do get a Diablo in the inkwell. We quest out. And then I do play the elephant, bouncing back the Cobra. Don't know if this was the right play. The Cobra does provide a little bit more threat to the opponent's board, but I think my thought process was to get the Cobra trigger again to try and get even more lore. But I think looking back, I probably could have just bounced back the Diablo and used it for ink. Did its job, questing a few times. Right now, we're just talking about how some players put Lilo sideways in their discard to help remember them. The opponent was talking about how he often forgets about his zombie Lilo effect. That is one way, if you do play her out in the audience, you can leave her sideways in your discard just as a little reminder, like, hey, she's there. You can play her on your upkeep before you draw. So we do get Big Tramp coming down for a big 5 draw. And then the opponent shows that he's pulled his entire playset of Ursula off of that tramp, which is pretty funny. Yeah, so I think it was 4 Ursula and then also a Scrooge, if I'm not mistaken, going in the discard there. And then, same as game 2, we get the double tramp, able to be played with that final ink with the discount. So here I am feeling the pressure a little bit. The board is super wide, and we did see a Chromacon go in the discard, which kind of lets me know he might have one in hand. I think he would value it a lot here, so I am worried about seeing the Chromacon come down next turn. You also don't have the opponent exerting anything, and I'm not at the 6 ink to play Demona, unfortunately. You do get a Hades come down, targeting a tramp. Most likely will let me draw 2, which is nice for a few more options. But I think even if I quest out here, it might be a bit of a pickle. And I did have to end up inking that Cobra, which I was planning on saving to use as effect. So definitely a bit of a misplay there. I could have inked the Diablo or bounced the Diablo with the Mim Elephant and then used that for ink instead. So looking back, that's definitely something I would have changed. I do just quests. Okay, yeah. So we quest for 3. Oh no, we quest for 2 with the Diablo and the Calhoun, and then we sing a strength. I think I do just end up targeting one of the ladies, get rid of one less shift target, but really just trying to get some value out of my strength before this Chromacon comes down, because I do think he has it in hand because he discarded one. And then, yeah, we do see the Chromacon come down. Bit unfortunate for me. The Diablo does get challenged by a Bobby. And then the opponent does quest out here, which is a huge quest. I think that's what, 1, 2, 3, 7. Uh, yeah, I think it was supposed to be 7. 2 with the tramp. Oh no, little lady has 2 lore because of the tramps in play. So yeah, that's 8 lore right there, which is very scary for me. I think my best bet right now is probably just take something out with Calhoun. What do we have here? We have Hades and Mim each go into the big tramps. So lets me put a little bit of damage on both of them before something gets bounced back. And then we do have Calhoun finish the tramp. And I mistakenly thought the Calhoun was going to get banished there, but she doesn't because tramp only does 2 back. And then opponent does go ahead and bounce back my Mim.
Can't wait to have that Calhoun do 2 lore every single turn.
And then we do go ahead and replay the Mim here. And he and I talked about this play at the end of the match, and I think he and I both agreed this was a bit of a misplay from me. I could have just played the Calhoun and maybe the Diablo as well. I do have a couple other cards in hand, not sure what they were, but I think getting rid of some of my board advantage by bouncing back the Hades was not as beneficial as being able to reuse the Hades effect, which is what I was initially thinking. So that might have been the nail in the coffin for me as far as having to go wide versus this Chromacon. Do get a Della's Moon Lullaby saying he's deciding what to target with. We do get it on my healthy Calhoun.
Not draw for turn. Watch draw for Della's Moon Lullaby. Play another lady, and then go 2, 4, 5, 6.
And then opponent does quest for 6 there. So threatening game on board already. And at this point, I don't think there's a whole lot I can do. I can challenge 2 of his characters. Will most likely lose one of my Calhouns if I do so. Probably even not. Probably lose the elephant because one of the Calhouns can't do enough damage to anything.
Because if you're bouncing cards, then your board is shrinking.
But yeah, if I did have the Hades on board here still, I think I'd have just a little bit extra pressure. We get the Hades out now, targeting probably Big Tramp, but opponent will definitely just let me draw 2 here. Doesn't feel very very impactful, especially with the zombie Lilo coming out as well.
Take 1.
It looks like he is deciding whether or not to put it on the bottom. But I think giving me 2 cards here doesn't really hurt too much because I only have 1 ink now. Only have 1 singer with the Mim Elephants. So could potentially get a strength or a thunderbolt out, but not super impactful because then he will be able to bounce my damaged Calhoun. And I only have a reduced strength Calhoun available to challenge with at that point. So still kind of the same boat. So yeah, he does go ahead and let me draw 2. But I think, yeah, I think this was not very winnable at this point. Using that elephant to bounce the Hades was definitely not the right play. I should have maintained a wide board, would have given me 1 other character to challenge with. Could have gotten 2 lore with the Calhoun, maybe quested with the damaged Calhoun, quested with Hades, and then challenged with something else that I had in hand. We looks like we did have a couple things. Looks like I had an Iago I could have played. I think I see that art poking out. Also 2 cost Jafar. So the Iago probably would have been much more beneficial over the Mim Elephant, even though it would have gotten popped by the Lullaby. It would still give me the other Calhoun to challenge with because then that Calhoun wouldn't have Lullaby effect on it. But yeah, I think I'm just taking my time here deciding if there are any outs, but really don't think there are. Yeah, and I think at this point we're just kind of talking about Chromacon and this matchup and how oppressive it can be. Talking about probably that elephant play that I made. But yeah, I think I know I'm beat here. Just kind of talking about what's going on. We do, I do believe we end up just scooping after this.
No, you had like Calhoun and you were at like 10, 11.
Yeah, we're just talking about right now what the board state was when I did end up playing the elephant and my lore count. Oh, and when we were talking about it, I wasn't super in agreement with that I made the wrong call, but I think watching back, I definitely did make the wrong call with this elephant. The playing the Iago that I had in hand would have been a lot more beneficial just to maintaining the wide board, giving him more characters to choose from so that I'd have more options going forward. And I'd also be able to pressure game on board quicker than him, which I think ultimately is the goal with the Chromacon is you want to put the onus on them to challenge your characters, not the other way around, because that's exactly where you want to be with the Chromacon. You want people having to challenge into you while you're ahead, because at that point there's not a lot that they can do if they have to start removing their own or removing their characters just to control your board. Yeah, we're just having a little chit chat here. I do end up scooping here, so China Cool Dino does end up taking the final game of the set. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions, maybe any other plays that I missed or could have done. And we'll catch you all next time.